Hi, so I'm Jonathan Amsterdam, and I'm not used to being mic'd. And I work for Google on the Google Cloud Client libraries, these Go libraries that let you use our Google Cloud APIs. Those are the import paths. So what I'd like to talk about today is a different way to display error handling. Not a new way to handle errors, not a language or syntax change, just another way to display error handling. We all understand that proper error handling is essential to good software, and Go is great at that part, making sure both the writer and the reader of the code are aware of all the possible error paths. Sometimes a little too aware, though. It gets in the way when you're just trying to see the normal path, what the program is supposed to do if everything goes right, the so-called happy path. So I asked myself, how does another information technology, a much older one, deal with extra stuff that doesn't bear directly on the main point? After all, despite newfangled IDEs and everything, most of us are still writing code on a two-dimensional surface, like a printed book. So one solution is the footnote. There's a little number in the main text. You look down at the bottom of the page, you read the extra material, and that works pretty well. But then it's sometimes a little hard to find the number that you came from. At the other extreme, we have the parenthetical. Oh, sorry. What I meant to show was that exception handling code, like this Java code, is like footnotes, where you go to the bottom and you see the error handling. That is if you're lucky and the catch is at the bottom of the function. If it's actually somewhere else in the program, then it's more like endnotes, which I'm sure everybody hates because you have to have a finger in the back of the book and go back and forth to the book. Or really in Java, it's really more like the note is in some other book in the library somewhere. So at the other extreme, there are parentheticals. Put parentheses right in the text. They're right there. You can't miss them, but they are pretty distracting. So while you read this text, I'm not going to read it to you, but I cheated in two ways here. I picked a particularly dense piece of prose. And the original text didn't, although it had parenthetical thoughts, it didn't actually use parentheses. I added those. And you know where I'm going with this, right? Go code is like parentheticals. The error handling is right there in the main text. You can't miss it. Now, there's another way to display extra material. That's sort of a compromise between footnotes and parentheticals, I think. And that's side notes, where you put the note just to the left or right of the text that you're annotating. So this is from Edward Tufte, the famous graphic designer who uses side notes extensively in his books. And this is how much I love side notes. Even though I hated my college physics class, I still fondly remember the textbook because it had made extensive use of side notes and side diagrams. So then when I didn't understand what was in the main text, I could just look left or right and not understand that either. So I wrote a little prototype that displays Go error code on the side. Here's the Go code we saw before, and here's what it looks like after my program processes it. Just look down the left side, you can see the happy path. You can look to the right, you can see the error handling. There's no loss of information. There's not even loss of tokens. All I've done here is, as a little bit of pseudo syntax, if you look down the middle column there, you'll see an equal colon token. That is the reverse of colon equals because the assignment's happening in the other direction. Here's a more complicated example with more error handling. And here's how my program formats that. I maintain the line breaks and the indentation of the error handling code. I just move it over to the right. That gives you gaps on the left, yes, but you can still glance down the left margin and see the happy path. So an obvious downside, more horizontal space. But that doesn't bother you when you use side-by-side diffs. And you probably, if you're like me, can get by with regular inline diffs for a bit. But when things get complicated, you want your side-by-side diffs, and you make the space for it. So that's what I'm proposing here, that when you want to understand probably a new piece of code, understand the non-error path, you stop splitting your screen or whatever, and you use this tool to look at the errors as side notes. Thank you.